Wa mamo hwe wo TV no so de mahu se ye de agusu dadaada se oman no atena se braso se ye betena se na nsem akese ne nyina ya bobo ho na ne nkomo ba akopɛ ne ba abedi badansa na ye de nkomo na nkasa baba no moguo de kakra de ye betete ho titiri onia owura kandapa wo ye national security minister akoka afa yatemuafo ene se de atemua adwumadie ne sitie wo man Ghana ye bete ho kakra na abedwafo akyew madwen wo ho mumudodo na awadwen nche mo so emfamra WhatsApp no so na Facebook live for Power 97.9 and a TV XYZ Dwabo Ase dwumadie nie Kwame Nkanie. Quickly mama introduce abedwafo na me mo akwaba Honorable Kwaku George Rickett Hagan, a member of parliament, Emma Adeshewo, Cape Coast South constituency. To say them a former deputy finance minister, also a former deputy trade and industry minister. Honorable Akwaba Mache.
Yeah.
Beginning to be able call.
Apome.
Yamina dum, you cram. I was saying, and I feel so, Bernard Odro Techi. One on a regional coordinator Emma Kaye West Africa and I feel so we certified member of ACC USA. Kaye BOT Akwaba.
Kwame.
Man of the moment. Na fite ye.
Oh, Kwame na say na no asema honorable Kandapa kan ya vindicate ye num bimo.
Okay. When you call it the any yemfanto so e de owura Kandapa we national security minister e kan ye. Yambo eneni bio anase yambo video ni bio mamo hwe TV so mahu video no mamo edi achi radio so Power 97.9 bobete ne no yentie nia wokafa judiciary no ho na fe mamo makenkan de owura gbavuro late aka fa de owura ayikotu enso aka fa de Kandapa e kan ho asam ne yakase pa radio we.
If the interpretation of the law is tilted so much in our favor all the time, people will start accusing the judiciary and will not have the confidence that they need.
Kandapa and our ten and can same way according to SMP are you go to our year mrenimuni penny pa one also and in adventure abetudwa ama owura gbavuro latte so atete kakra ma no na de gbavuro latte e kan ye bioti me bounce na fe ma bounce honorable was say if I you go to had just but short advice on the linkage between the administration of justice and national stability, he would not have made such zealotry comments on what the Minister for National Security said during the sensitization of judiciary on the national security strategy for the country. No, to also can say he should go and read the national security strategy, that's NSS, and stop professing that judges are divine and infallible. And to us was it they are not. An unfair administration of justice, perceived or real, has led to serious national instability in many parts of our sub-region. That is a lesson our national security minister appears well aware of, better than Ayikwe. And not also was it the minister did not just say judges should rule on party lines. Where do Ayikwe get that from? Does Ayikwe understand what the NSS mean by a whole of government and a whole of society approach in ensuring national stability? Has Ayikwe followed the observations of the CDD on the administration of justice in Ghana of late? Has he examined the concept of subjective perceived and objective real fear that security on any scale remains a feeling? He should please leave the minister alone to do his work. Sensitize the general public, including the judiciary, on the thresholds of tolerance that ensure national stability. Now, your car copy man say, are you go to one year? Say, what it Kandapa? Na wo patcha said, the Kandapa, Ekayano, a bit me the Enumquasi Abama, your judicial system. No, now one no crown of Bevrelati no, say, are you go to Akinkai? NSS National Security Strategy ana ni nyina yen sama wode abetuja me sha ase for BOT a me sure say wodi asem we achi asem ya owura Kandapa kan yi epemo sei eye nokura no waka ana se ni amanfo susu ni bi no adan
Yeah, Kwame Mamini can chair or her for now, menchia the senior comrade. I may admire so much. Me who be a war understanding in finance and economy and I'm penasem, cause Scani Bema.
Sikane die.
Sikane
Bema. Uni ska onya Bema.
No, forget it.
E man be go.
Who abusium
Gender activist no be kasa o.
Who abusium me ye bana uni sika. Ye shia cry am frel.
E bana so be kasa sikane oba.
Oh, I mean that's fine. But the obvious is the Sikani Bema.
That's right.
Me who be a war background in finance and economy, I am a natural admiration for such person. Me admire so much. Kwame Mayemra the substantive issue ni so. Abodam for me ensa. Ana yes set for omo say omo bodam ne ko. Nti ye de omo ko say ye ko test omo say ampa say abodam ne ko a. Nti ye mo television. Ena urede man ya bisa say ma TV ye de ma wa be ne den.
Esa be omo mo adwum
kaya de. Ena ba ko say oh TV de me per extension plug. Na me de shame na ma di code na ma so ye say obodam ne ko. You are free to go. Second one, eno buy. Your mouth TV also medical TV type on na ma pen menu na ma kenkan na ma yes o bodam ne na third one buy. Any business says your mouth television I'll burn it that was TV. It say Apple me papa na madi. The import of parable ne say abodam for me ensan kro mo bodam ateko no ba kontimi dissente. Let me go to Supreme Court. How could it be say nipa 70 metena say ye will be a different or read law no different or more different idiosyncrasy. Na de bia mo kotena say since 2020 no mo rule one way. It could be say some of one person is thinking for the whole. And fear her some of the boy and voices akaya. Ya can't say we say look it cannot be. Say nipa so nipa kono de bi or more dream back. It means somebody somewhere is thinking for them. Yes, a kukuchiche from so because a denchime watch in your So, what kind of constitution we are? Your National Security Council, chaired by the President. Honorable Kanda Parker Hubi. And one who said Ghana launch national security strategy.
That's right.
Chesa for the next 5 to 10 years and about security and strategy. Ni. Asem no beka ye no enye kwa. There are undercurrents.
Bibi Shasi.
In security, you don't put issues out, but why home? As a cruel tool no. Ye mia kro no nyina one day umia no kakra nti de obeka ye no e could be e nema mienu e ye ida se mampanyi ni omahia kokoam e na omatu no fo se de mu ye no nsunsuanso e de banie e na e bia chief justice ne mpanimfo na anche omo ho ase. Other than that, this issue wouldn't come out. And not very fair. National Security Minister Barry chief justice anymore public. It doesn't happen. And you see, so Obi Bia Obekaya, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama ko US. And Otomani almost said, Kwa mo first ubu attempting and ko ye. At that time, already lambasted him. And as one a bell lambasted Kandapa. So we don't know Bevlo Latte, former National Security Coordinator and responser. On equal to anti-security matters, I say. There are people in this country about finance, you will be a caso be a betino. About security, Bevlo Latte stands tall. And for me, a good to say MP.
National Security Minister.
Let me tell you. The law is about spirit and the letter. Over constitution we are. Letter no you be a kind of better say. But there is a spirit to the law. Common sense and yedibu. How could you tell me say under Mahama Bra na MPP didn't course because 2012 no. Judges at a case no so nipa 9 no. On the same deliverables no, yet me vote na call 4-5-6-3. And then MPP address on a unanimous FC. It doesn't wash. So for me, no, the earlier they listen, the better. Obi in kase pudoshe, but pudoshe the yejo. Nobody is wishing say Ghana should go in turmoil. Country biana judiciary no be failing no. It leads to kakistocracy. A failed state. A state kakistocracy. A state bia. Among for who say GD any baby. Enti onya asem na so the kokod na bebu unanimous there. I'll meet you on the street. Ebisi or Pakistan, Ivory Coast. It has happened over the world. Enti se mampanyi mo hwe no mu tie ya. The chicken have come home to roost. We di omo omo koto dwemu. Sankan di sini na eka obeka se we dey partisanship. But we dey we minister on the crow security apparatus no or se mu hwe yie. But for me, see justice a vanda means me old vanda. Your motto a true stance. No question say Ghanaians are not happy with him. I'm speaking to him as a vendor. Your motto a true stance. No cray back. And no cray no so the chef for mo the chef no cray. No question is judiciary, no, people have lost confidence in them.
Hey, dangerous.
Look, even the National Security Minister was very magnanimous. On the of why ni. No question is a man for ni judiciary no. And then so we ni pattern see ho. Now the Antoine Yama ejina ho. Now the Ghana judiciary ejina na kasa asama to. When now be far. Emu na be yi Antoine eja the judiciary.
Very one for honorable Kokure Ketega and honorable. I say be so back say so National Security Minister the BBC abeto eye bedwam anase wo de abeto amanfo anima. Ebema enkomo na ye na kaka because one che ade potea atochewa e wo se yesiesi.
Yo munia medase na pay me chia my brother na wana wo te yen asama minister nke no asama adwen kakra because minister to address the judiciary that way in public quite strange.
Busy down.
No, it's very strange.
Wow.
Quite strange. I mean, somebody who is a security minister to address them that way. So that my brother there has to be something behind the scenes. Say America cases na zamana rulings na za. You know, we accept the rulings, but it comes out quite strangely, especially when all the judges move in the same direction. It
comes out quite strangely to Wamo.
Oh,
to party to Assembly to the Ghana for
Ghana for. I mean, I'm a Ghanaian, and I'm sure I've heard from other quarters as well. But when you look at it, which are rulings now, most of the time, you know, it looks a bit, especially where all of them seems to move like a head in the same direction. A bit, you know, but, you know, whatever the rulings they come up with, well, you can challenge the rulings if you want to, but so that okay no. If you crow mbra on your move and now people don't have confidence that as some to wanna they can actually go and seek a redress or justice, no, it's becoming a dangerous country.
To nene ya adwen say ye the Antonia Messi or na ye the court Messi. Do do na be ko Antonia ma.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far. But not only to Ghanaians, but also to the international community. People who come and invest here. Once whatever way you sure there. So by investment to Kruma Hana asam to na ye bibi also court obey fair hearing. But if mo know on ye manner, then they lose confidence in our system. At the moment, you grow a risk. We want investors in the country. Judiciary, they play part in being able to attract investment about Ghana because they want to be sure investors know what Baha, if you're any Ghanaian partner, if you're we sometimes unfortunate things happen where be a Ghanaian partner and we are trying to cheat the foreigner or something. Foreigner pedo okokota. Not because the Nipponese are some no Ghanaian, another only a foreigner, no. But they actually get a fair hearing. If it's the fault of him, that person or the fault of the Ghanaian, they actually get the ruling that they deserve. But I think what this is saying, admittedly by the
National Security
Minister, means that in Zamaroko, one direction more than.
But finally, now for your question, so 2 hours they are better big and more dangerous because here we are, ye di won't come. A man for so a while, a manonia, Munya, Communio Musica, the Babasho, my Muso, Omuti. Doesn't it feed into perception there or that? And this time round, no, ye nyam honam dia betalika say no say ampampa bibisa
and America they are very strange to come from him. In fact, to come from any minister in government, let alone the National Security Minister. So it's not, I mean, I don't know whether or letting a guard down or I don't know. But
it's in any way.
No, I wouldn't do it. I would not expect that.
Yeah, why the babwa?
In any way. You know, I can't see that, as you're saying, and even I come answer me. So people begin to think that people are correct. So why is the minister saying this? You know, something must be behind the scenes, and quite worrying.
Okay. From very well. Yeah, into Brika, I'm about non crap house medio no miensa. Yeah,
beautiful. Studio had one security guy, so you say I never you know soon a bit my ear in the heading. Or say it could be say honorable Kandapa is built for reshuffle into your kanko. Or kanko. It's possible. Or say it could be say a pencil and down say begin free ministry ho. Into the one a boa and ideally own to me fan to piano or kanko on a baby. And also say or cut to whitewash the Kufado's administration. So they require a PSA. Then another administration are not happy with the unanimous ruling. A security couple parliament to find it together. Or say from security angle, no, these are the two scenarios. One, Kandapa could be penciled down for reshuffle, Yina Manako, into your car con baby. Into your can or corner search in Sia. Ghana for Becca say, oh, or Kaya no manti.
Hey,
these are the two possibilities.
But Wakako na enkomo yi koso say na ndia one the political party or wa be ma so do so can
Kandapa is self-actualized. Baby, I would do no. You see, you know, I breast a bequay be a bequay, my mobile, what trabino. He didn't be on here. He has seen it all
to a kako
or kako. All say, you see, so trewa untru fundaka.
Beauty, I want to
untru fundaka. Why a minister, why a cabinet minister, didn't be on the veteran. President no near. And he said, we are position in our crow women. The only year I am fatani president because you remember Speaker of Parliament take information free National Security Minister. So clearly, whatever fundaka whatever.
Okay, quick one. Mama CD no CD about center. Omo no CD capsules ni CD ointment no. Ohunam ba bia ye oye bia no betimi akopa bi. Kai say oko ye drugstores ahodo titiu okaishi drug lane ubenya biato oko temanso Little George ubenya biato ho Medina ye Randy Pharmacy ubetimi afre 0209 682 836 84 Monfre 0209 682 836 and 0505 767 425 CD Herbal Center omo CD capsules and afenso CD ointment baby ayo we bia no treaty na ebeko yanto aso na fe yantinsi yesikasem entoto ye ho already it appears say enso anu adro say kasa keke yenim Ghana for yenim sankomoyi yate mampanyi na nado danko akufo adonka wabra wo kasa join the State of the Nations address na anu yampo ne nkoma woni BBC for kotwetwe ye no wote wo kakra kire nia aban eye afa yesikasem entoto ye agye aguyi and after so yetie kenoforiata or yen sentwefo nhia mu de noma hodo obeto yenim se ekwan we eno mo fa so se de be ya yesika 7 ya no betimi asa gina ho ena na anu ya Dr. Mamadou Baumia ye donhwe mienu ogina ne na so fifrete no ni nyina won fa ho ebe kire enoma hodo a Ghana ban eyo se de be ya yesika 7 ya ebetimi agina fa ko na asem ba kwa kan ya eto amafo dodo na atrim se yesika 7 fa pem no bibi anyen baby ejina na ejina in fact ejina pampe yeni sa nkomo no sisi yeni enhwe enso anu aduro ya aban dia beto edwa no eno ene beboa ye alien economy na mama sha asem free honorable reketega hona yenhwe already watie Baumia tie mampanyi ne kenofriata so my simple question eno ne enso anu aduro na
yeah me that's it but say you are right first of all finance minister. No, because 6 days later, then the president, State of the Nation. Then on the 7th, Dr. Baumia. I followed Dr. Baumia for a while, but I have come to a conclusion that Dr. Baumia, no, why are they cheerleader for the MPP?
Why are they
cheerleader? Yeah. As an American, or as an American term, where American football, one hour kita.
Honorable radio into Yana or man and so mame.
1 hour kita. He was the chairs.
Yano grant to my craft Francano.
Mostly, you know, ladies, but members who count cheerleader. Coach school American cheerleaders are member. Wow. Now, cheerleader no, and cheerleaders no. Wedma is to cheer their team. Sometimes when you score simple, they don't know the scores on the board. Theirs is to cheer. So they don't look on the board before they cheer. That is what, I'm not reducing him as a president, but I'm just trying to draw an analogy on what he has become. So anytime the MPP is down, and then there's a small good news, then he comes out, pick that small good news, and will turn the whole.
It's not small good news.
Yeah, I will tell you what is.
Okay.
Yeah. And you about market with it, that until people find out that he was on his feet for 2 hours just to tell lies. And it's not you see how, all sweating. It's not a being on your feet in 2 hours, just deceiving people. Now, I'm saying this because I go back to, I think, 2020, or a town hall meeting in Kumasi. Now, that town hall meeting, the same approach, same throwing numbers around, cherry picking, numbers up here, periods up here. I mean, he's a very distortive economist.
Distortive, yeah.
Distortive, or the number fra, or distorted. And also a very mischievous one. Many a times, Unimazori, and he knows, look, if the presentation on the 7th was actually an economic script, the professors will not touch it. Not that they will fail him, they won't even touch it.
Fise.
It's not one that an economist would do. Comparing, if you are comparing, you compare apples also with or to apples. Oranges, same way. But you choose different period. Decide that you are 4 years, maybe you are if it goes a longer period, it favors you. Then you pick numbers. Those numbers now have been disputed, even by the IMF. You still use the same numbers to present figures. I'm better than you. It's usual. I'm better than you. I'm bigger than you. I'm smaller than you. All sort of things. Now, by doing that, as I said, or the Zama, and then at the same time, we use Zama or inconsistent. We use them inconsistent things consistently. Doesn't make any argument. Because of that, we lose integrity in the eyes of Ghanaians.
Typical example.
And credibility. Typical example. Let's start with inflation. Inflation figures are were not actually accurate. I mean, the inflation when NDC was leaving office was 15.4. It wasn't the 17 point whatever that he was talking about. Now, inflation as we know today, the present inflation figure has nothing to do with Ukraine.
And now COVID.
Well, maybe some element of COVID, because COVID will go on for a while. But to claim the Ukraine war, inflation, it's actually not true. Inflation was a February inflation, end of February inflation of the 15.7. Ukraine war started on the 24th of February. So maybe the last 6 days of February or whatever, nothing significantly from the Ukraine war has fed into end of February inflation. In fact, March inflation is when we will first see if indeed the Ukraine war has affected. It will be in March. Because from the 1st of March to the 24th or so when the war started, that inflation has nothing to do with the Ukraine war.
I'm actually at the end we say see
because the time in the war started. So if we have issue, for instance, wheat. Okay, wheat on was a panel. So maybe say a crab wheat now, then wheat no cost or bokoso, because Ukraine is one of the largest producers of wheat. So that wheat now will feed into the price of bread, no, will feed into March inflation, not February's. If indeed it's February, it will be just the last few days. I don't also think that either he's being mischievous or he actually doesn't understand in practice the inflation that this country is facing now. Now, actually, and then he makes a very, very, what is it called? It's a mischievous. I don't want to say certain things to discredit him as an economist. So the least is that he's being mischievous. When you look at inflation, three things feed the inflation we are facing in Ghana today. Inflation are all amana as the other countries.
Yeah.
Or slightly different in structure than in inflation. After the COVID, if you pandemic anymore, most countries are recovering. So the inflation that they were experiencing, inflation, Ukraine war not start you. Since the recovery started last year, a lot of inflation or other parts of the country has been going up. That kind of inflation is called demand inflation. The inflation is coming out of demand as a result of companies that will close one down, while start to pick up. As a result of Nkrofo Wasan or high Nkrofo. These are all positive things, but they create inflation. So as other countries now will start to high Nkrofo, no, there's then a competition on salary, because you need to go out there and pay the right amount to get people. Then you get salary inflation or wages inflation. Those are all demand. That's something good happening in the economy causing that inflation. Now, when you come, so the bulk of the inflation outside now, or this demand inflation. When you come to Ghana, the bulk of our inflation is food inflation. Long before the Ukraine war started. So if food is a problem coming from Ukraine, then it has nothing to do with this inflation. The food inflation is actually a domestic food inflation problem. Because we are not able to produce enough to feed our people. And when you look at what budget it's in it. Clearly, in with the planting, and then what even makes it worse is the planting for food. If a problem is happening, then you are not doing anything about it. You can just say, oh, because I haven't, but when you are actually consciously planting for food and jobs, you have a policy, a flagship policy. Yet, food production is going down. And contribution of your food, if you go to the budget page 244.
Budget, what do you
2022 budget.
Okay.
I think appendix 3A. 3A, appendix 3A. Echo that page now. It gives you agriculture's contribution. My agriculture, more than GDP. Eco agriculture, so we're breaking down into crops, now fisheries and other things. Now let's say planting for agriculture figures themselves. From 2017 to date, agriculture's or crops contribution to GDP is declining. It's in a budget, their own budget. The same with agriculture. Now, the other things will feed into GDP, they have not significantly, another one moving in a way, or maybe they are contributing more, that is why. So it tells you that because of the low production we are having, the contribution as well to GDP, which start around 6.7, goes down to 4, and now stabilize, it's around 5. Now, from 2022, 23, 24, 25, God forbid, there will not be 25 for them. The agriculture or the crops contribution will be stagnant, will be at 5.5 in all these 2 years, and it's there. And the inflation, food inflation, started before petroleum prices, which tells you that the food inflation, petroleum, another transportation inflation on count. It's purely as a result of lack of production, another not being able to produce enough to feed our people, which tells you that planting for food and jobs is actually not working.
Okay, it did not make us say
it need to be reviewed.
Okay.
Now let me end with this bit.
Yeah.
Now the other two, I mentioned 3 things will feed into inflation. The other 2 is exchange rate. Exchange rate will feed into inflation. Therefore, exchange rate or kosora in terms of your cedi depreciating against the dollar or major currency now, then there's an inflation feed into that. Also, prices of fuel is also inflationary. But these 2 inflation, they are above transitory, another word pass through. So when the situation of fuel reverses, you expect that inflation also to come out. The same with the other one. And one feeds into the other. The depreciation of the cedi also affects the prices of fuel because you bring this thing in foreign money to buy these things in. So the inflation of Ghana should not be compared to inflations in other countries because the picture of Ghana is inflation is completely different.
Okay.
Ghana's inflation will be best described as crisis inflation, not a demand-driven. It's on the supply side or cost side of inflation. So this is the difference. So if you don't know it this way and you are prescribing a solution, you will always be given the wrong solution. You go to hospital with malaria and you are being treated for cancer. That's what we are doing in this country at the moment. Because the picture of inflation that we paint, it's not the actual picture of inflation. Therefore, you can also believe that what prescription you also will be wrong.
No,
No.
Say more kasa for inflation one. Not the
you have to look at the inflation you are dealing with. And with the inflation, most of the time, our Bank of Ghana, we tell you targeting inflation, we want inflation to be around 8% and all that. Now, targeting if you don't know the problem well and you target it, you might be doing the wrong thing. Bank of Ghana's 2.5 or 250 basis pointer was you try to cure inflation. It's actually not right.
Okay.
Because part of the inflation, must say, or a transitory, just passing through. Until you use the central bank money as a try to solve them problem now, you could be throwing money away. Because right now the problem is nobody knows when the Ukraine war will finish. Therefore, into and there, Ukraine war, you must have solutions to address the problem.
Okay, solutions here, but my BOT based on the Kenyan, saying it's a pemo, solution baby.
Kwame, from economic perspective, from me analyze Dr. Bawumia in 3 strands.
Okay.
1, Dr. Bawumia as an economist and not Bank of Ghana. Dr. Bawumia as an economist or a running mate. And Dr. Bawumia as an economist or a vice president. So, analyzing introspectively, not devoid of partisanship, you see clearly, say, Dr. Bawumia no Bank of Ghana, he was a real true economist, pragmatic economist. Because at that time, no, they're not mining can cause to devoid of partisanship. Now, the very moment I am a Kwenya so my running mate, ne pedigree as a real economist, because at that time, you need to speak to a certain constituency called MPP members to shape them to believe, say, yenya candidate to be as a basic assembly to ya. He is primus inter pares. And Abraham Bank of Ghana, he was a true economist. The very moment Albedi Frank Abe running me to Nanado from 2008 out to 2016, he was a voodoo economist. In voodoo economics, what you do is that you promise the people higher expenditure, reduced taxation, and revenue base.
Man for some borrow.
But it's good because you discuss the economy.
Matthias, you
also Tias.
I dropped a man so person Tias.
I also munya terms in it. And in voodoo, no catch your man for say me a buying. A buyer may but minya bankwa dia. Yeah. Me mamun to be because a buy be shemwa or mama mu new sound taxes. And it's a me bad dia ba me bano. Ghana fu you 2 amubetu and meteswama. On that same breath, so Mr. Stone so mamu wia. Me mamu niema bebre. Ebini one district, one factory, one village, one dam. Planting for food and job, planting for food and export, free SHS, me mamu free TVET. Sa niema no ye increase expenditure. Abane so some promise Ghana for ye sign so ba. Ye bema 1 million per one constituency, and if you did something you call capex. Capex means capital expenditure. And it's how can you bomua. And you voodoo because in voodoo economics, you promise the people a lot of expenses. O sure mobo, semi ba, mama mwanya nema bebre. Sa nema na mubenya so tuwa mubetu ya ma baino, eso bete. Kwa me take it from me, in economics, economics is simply a functionality of productivity and labor size. For every economy, it's an equation. Economics is simply, every economy is equal to productivity plus labor size. Let me from. Productivity, say, garbage in, garbage out. And it's a buying. Now, what they are the bonny rama anymore, are the bonny the BP. Dr. Baumia's statement, no man and no nino, or Casafa near Marcus Yemian or say the banking cleanup exercise, COVIDnomics, and Ukraine-Russia war. And Timibabe funnel the functionality of economy, which is productivity plus labor size. Productivity, and say, so we are buying. Not from day one, assumption, and every economist is based on assumption. You name the basic now. Until in economics, you assume. So the fundamentals of every economy, say, you assume such now way, but when based on this assumption, you put in these deliverables. Until the MPP in opposition assume, say, you buy more, you beg to say, you buy mamu say. And no more zoom so more buy, you know. There were some 11 traditional banks and microfinance, about 400. Omo niema no ensisi so enti omo assumption kire omo say you collapse banks we na ye consolidate omo na ye kopesika betu amanfo deposit mo omo a ebema confidence abama animu kwa me take it from me. Every economy is driven by 2 indicators, speculation and confidence. You can't fight it. Either there is speculation in the economy or there is confidence in the economy. Speculation wo man animu a e matumemu for crowd dem si cash and pass. Yeah. Emma foreign investors edi omusika ezete. Se confidence o man mu a ye free bi se ma shada so obekwa akoyi ni sika free ni dan mu akoto bank. But se confidence ni man mu a obe shada so. Enti Dr. Baumiya say the ama Ghana fundamentals is say shaking in say clean up exercise from year 2017 to 2029 no and no ka hu bi aban naka. Kwame, it is the most unconscionable economic exercise ever done by this government.
A banking sector cleanup. No?
The most unconscionable. Nyansanim, mamen kan twi no bi antiase. Kwame wo mama akoma aku du baako. Sa o ma no mu ko school a omo we. But common sense bet you say wo fa classes teacher mo a on betuma sua de pass akọ the next class. O say da bi mi yi mi mba ni nyina dia mo ma betena fie. No mo meye arm robbers. Who does that? And to we are buying what these banks they were facing liquidity challenge. And the one who says our bank no more bread. Number me here at that time 11 billion no get here for you. Na se minya sa 11 billion na midi ba be shemama te we mu fosi ko mo nsaka. And a bank for no say there be my 9 billion Ghana cedis ni emfa nyina ye 9 so. Abane so there be me ko fa 11 billion no e dey be good ye 9 billion betimi aye. 4th year and quarter they went off. And now, since 2019, government keeps changing the figure. Almost started with 11 billion, about 16, about 21, now about 25 billion. And to me, beside Dr. Baumiya as an economist say, Abano started saying here 11 billion. Then a buyer jump from 11 billion to 25 billion. Until we share me now Dr. Baumiya catch was say banking cleanup as na mining ko year. Bisano say, about say now buying 11 billion. 25. Another point. So only for company biana asset and liability. And to those 11 companies microfinance or mugu no, where are their assets? Anya shenu GN Bank or cars or wadine or fee. Bait Capital, UT Bank, Royal Bank, Heritage Bank, Premium Bank, Sovereign Bank. These banks, they had assets. Where are the assets? My unfair no to COVID-19. Oh, per abaya all over the world. COVID man in yam for abaya tisuya. But for COVID and Komunya over 32 billion to the coffers of the state. Abraham Mampany can State of Nation address. He was able to account for 17.7 billion Ghana cedi. Maybe said Dr. Baumia say a mao are there 32 billion. Now to me 17.7 billion Hong Kong. The net difference of the account, he found a war. So clearly, COVID cannot be the excuse for this government. Let me go to Russia and Ukraine war. Clearly, it is clear that the war has had a geopolitical toll. Yeah. Ghana is not an exception. But you see, in economics, there is always a precedence. For example, so calculating inflation for maybe March, you have to look at other factors in December 2021, January, February. And it's an issue that happened in February 2022. Now, catch them say we incompetent from 2017 to 2022. War about in just less than 2 months. Now, yet the reason for your incompetence, then it's an excuse. So clearly, no, say you discuss the economy new year. About we nan kasana wa fail, but you see, Dr. Baumia is a smart economist, and he knows how to use data to make us control. But he plays around data, and he does choose and pick. Last of it all, Dr. Baumia can say the fundamentals are still strong. So it means say the assumption be or use no wise no position no they still hold. Then let me play back his own assumption to him. Or can say if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. And those assumptions no you soon at the time are not pay to me. And it's a no catcher said the fundamentals of the MPP government is strong. They are. What are the fundamentals? In economics, no, you look at the microeconomy and the macroeconomy. With the microeconomy, no, you look at the individual, household, and the firm. And the ankran nam usula latabio kosha denta medina, their nomoto, their spending, their savings, their income level. Then you go to household, fear ankran busuya kesiye. Then you go to the firm. And the interplay of individual, no. Any firms, no, any household, no, any microeconomics. When you micro ni we are, then the next aspect is the macroeconomics. And what you are buying, I said, into the macroeconomics, no, what share inflationary rates, exchange rate, and unemployability rates. And the some fundamentals, ni na no say strong, no. So just suppose some fundamentals, no, and they compare NDC abreso. Their fundamentals today are weaker than the NDC. For example, Abrana NDC for Kunyanasono, the worst of their inflation was 15.4. Today, it is 15.7. And to Intimin country, me say, a baby and a man penny also the incompetent one called John Dramani Mahama, or the inflation of 15.4. And now, yeah, because an old day 15.7. Who can tell me, say, figure 15.7 is better than 15.4? Then again, taking exchange rate. And now you can say an exchange rate is about the strength of a currency, relative to other currencies. Under the past NDC government, or my exchange rate as now for $1, ube to me the 4 cedis at all. And now you can say no, so far $1. When I'm sure work for 8 Ghana cedi, they are $1. So the fundamentals not say you're strong, they have been weakened by their own incompetence. And the last of it all, they say, the conduct and the posture of MPP government, it has led to speculation. Ama GD ana man for government ni muno ajiegu. Enti se oye aban penny, oye president. Na in the midst of COVID, o charter flights in 2021 May. Ebema investor bi benya adwin bi say. So the nisika brow na se nisika raw man mu you are going to live like an Arabian king. Enti in conclusion no, aban no ne yeye, omu suban any omunyama bi omaye no ama confidence NDC aban jaye no it had led to speculation. And no wonder say all the rating agencies today are downgraded Ghana from where it was to CAA1, which means say senke yitwi kasa Ghana e careful day.
It is a say problem nini. But yenhwe solution from finance minister through to Mampenyi Nanado Danko Akufo-Addo na fenso Dr. Mamadou Baumia so utie and 70 bi omo kafa anamon wa omo to teacher about revenue mobilization omo di omani ache e-levy and also omo so omo gina so said be ya GDA besa ba ya economy ni mu a ye won so anu aduro bi honorable
mention on the revenue side.
Na me chese aka yesima ben watwe.
Yeah, on the revenue side. But before, let me take you back again to inflation, another problem. Around 2018 or so, you're rebasing inflation.
Yeah.
That rebasing, chade, in Kano's inflation, mfane may rebasing no, may in the same mfane Kano basket na ye pick goods na ye no inflation calculation no. In Kano no choy 267 for from the old series. New series and you're increasing to 307. And so you put more items in. Again, data are picking for market points, what they call the market point. You ever know you go and pick data no. We used to pick it from 42. We increase it to 44.
Okay.
Now, when you do rebasing of inflation, most of the time, we inflation oboko form will be reduced because in the maybe and cover, you are now covering it. So you realize that after any inflation of 15.4, rebasing was done after no. You realize that inflation was actually going down. It was not as a result of anything at MPPYA, but rebasing no boy in that direction.
Okay, very well.
Now, problem in there, as we went along, all these things that are coming in, inflation was started there, all should be. But let's come to end revenue. You know, when NDC year benmuno, revenue was about 103 billion. The whole revenue in the 4 years. 2013. Yeah, revenue. Total revenue with grants. Now, in 2022 alone, this government expects to raise 100 billion in revenue. If they are able to do that, that's the revenue NDC raised within 4 years.
Wow.
Now, when you ask about debt, are they 86 billion to the debt in the 4 years? So if you want to look at as an envelope of money, President Mahama Onyaya, basically when you put the two together, it is the 86 billion, which is the debt, plus what is it called? Plus the 103. Now, EBA on their side, you realize that as they've been in power in the last 5 years, or even if you take it in the last 4 years, revenue is almost about 200 billion. Okay, if you add the last 5 years, revenue alone is about 266 billion. Okay, when you look at debt, they have added, for the last 5 years they've been in office, they've added 241 billion to the debt, which means that Sika Webezu, it's almost about 500 billion. If you take even the last year, 2021, and look at it, 4 years, don't, Dr. Baumia, you compare 4 years to 4 years, you realize that the figure between NDC, it's actually double.
But still a more pebi account.
Yes, still a more
pebi account. Yeah, brain into my
yeah. But now take the debt also quickly and look at the debt itself. Amount of debt was I can hear debt, which is the 241 Nayakano. The interest payment it's about 37 billion. But when you look at the whole debt service, we are paying, about 145 billion. This debt are self-inflicted. If you know the financial services, debt, the banks could have been saved. 400 million is what each bank needed. So in the banks in your name will be 400 million. That's 3.6 billion. So with about 5 billion roughly, you could save all the banks and they will all be in operation today. Instead of using 25 billion. That's also, he's made a very important point. Because we see the number changing. Long after the collapse and everything, the numbers are still changing. So what is changing the numbers? Now, when you look at it entirety, Dr. Baumia was spent 50 billion on COVID, what is it called? Those charges they are talking about, which is neither here nor there, and what is that? Financial services, 25 for financial services, 17 billion for the what is it called that they paid 8.1 for COVID. Now the COVID number keeps changing. The president said 18. Somebody
no,
said
the president said 17.
President said 17. Somebody saying 8.1. Yeah. We don't know. That's why we want an audit on this COVID. Yeah. Now, put everything together. Holding 500 million or billion in the last 5 years. Add the 15 point whatever, let's say 16 billion for all the flagship programs that they are talking about, 15 billion. You add it to the 50 billion, that's about 65 billion. Now, take 65 billion out of 500 billion. Where is the rest of the money? Of over 400 billion.
Your time, solution be one.
Solution, I always say, first of all, the borrowing must stop. If we don't stop the borrowing, we will never get out of this situation. We borrow to, and then the immediate thing is the exchange rate. Okay. We need to do something about it. There's no confidence. That Sikano is not going to do anything. 2 billion, which was borrowed. It's not coming from the reserves.
Wow.
If we really have over 9 billion reserves, why are you borrowing to prop up the city and you are not using the reserves? Because in the reserves, no, sir. Reserves, no, the trophy in your cabinet. They just show it off. Oh, we want this cap. So they say, oh, we have a reserve of this. It covers 3 or 4 months import cover. But your exchange rate, your city is depreciated. And you are sitting now, until the way paint to wall, and dry.
Interesting.
So this is the problem that they need to deal with. And then, of course, with the fuel.
Yeah.
If they don't address the fuel and the currency will be moving like this. So the fuel, they need to use, look, they talk about net importer, net exporter. It doesn't matter. We'll keep 2 balance sheets for oil. One is for what we bring in, and one is for what we send out. We are going to make about 500 million this year because of oil prices. Ukraine war, that when it goes against them, they say it, but when it goes for them, they don't. They need to use some of that resources to cushion if they can't take the taxes. 15 pesos has not done anything.
Very well. Honorable, unfortunately, your time no call. I'll be unfair to you. Just some 30 seconds.
A spoiled child needs discipline, no more money. Akola was saying, no, you're so yetiano. And it's a buying assay, you're dear buying so. And it's only been say you cut your coat according to your size. And to some extravagant expenditure, I have fatal expenses, and you cut it down. And it's a plain or chatter na ye complain at so ministers na use foreign health service teso. So flat house now consumable doors so reduce it. So you see, and you see, Kwame say also of economic challenge now is let you go the fiscal or the monetary policy way. Abana nam ni until baby obekobia wapem. That is said in Suafani Pana, Bia no yaka. And it's a kind of fiscal policy. Taxation, one say you leave your more project is 6.9 billion and normal review to 4.5. It should tell you, sir,
for no more delay.
Good, it should tell you, sir, or more fiscal policy land can be solve challenge in the crown, a fire back. So clearly, no said the honorable cano. Exchange rate regime, the force of demand and supply into me for your new. Nyamia Yadom. When you are counting the good, count the bad too. They are counting the bad, say Ukraine war air higher. Ukraine war on some fuel prices and air cost. Government, because we are a commercial oil producer, you are profiting. And it's a net positive difference now when you are and cafes and Quebec cano.
Right.
Use it to save Ghanaians. And now for baby, and never boy cost. And I think, say, ye 2 Obama buying said they are buying be save. And now you can say the tratono. Adundum naba. Obekaya ban bi atwam mahama ban no. Na ya chama ha osi ye mo mahama. Maudun so na. And so maudu adundum o.
Omse dum siesie.
Aya adundum.
Well.
And the best said say adundum na aba no. Nchia na wo sesa account it na ye de mahama na chia. And then so yemfa akufo ado ne ba omi anchia. Ti se me chia me mo adundum so ye mo ba omi a.
Bio ti da se. Beti ase.
Mo adundum o.
Ba
ye mo ba omi a.
Medo say BOT na fe so honorable Kwaku Reketegan also medo say utimi hwe na fe so mo amutie so ye da mu nyina say ajima medo say so apoje 1 minute bi aka ebre no ho ama ye sorry so ajima ya me bo ni din One year na power nie. What the biggest mid morning show? Abraham Power 97.9. What TV extras that you be you must see na face so yeah the documentaries kakra from master so kakra yeah be from. But you may bring so Mugabe massive about not the Gumbe show at the Abraham inside politics beba wa Abraham no mienu ewo radio so Power 97.9. Kaisa prem to kase yebon so yeah the Abraham. Within the Prince Kwame nka nyame ya adoma kira. Yebebo dwa data ni adwendwo my Ghana ho. Bye bye.